Here on end grain is the brown action from the 1867 33B. Basically the same shape as any grand piano action. Keys to the front, action to the rear. Where this action differs is in the mechanics between the two, and we'll take a closer look at those in a moment. Okay, I want to take a quick look at the action for the 33B. As I've said before, this is known as a Brown action, named after its inventor Edwin Brown, who came up with this in about the 1840s, I believe. And this action, or another version a little bit more robust, was used in Chickering pianos for the most part for over 50 years. There were other options, but this was a very popular action in its day. As you can see, it's a fairly simple action, but it shares a lot of features with most grand pianos, and some features it shares more with square grands. But let's look at the parts. You have the key, of course, as in every piano, and you have your jack mounted to the key. There is mounted here an intermediate lever known as the underhammer, and as one would normally expect, hammer with the shank. And the action works basically like this. As with any piano, when you press down on the key, it lifts the hammer because there's a mechanical transfer of energy. When the hammer reaches a certain distance, close to the strings, not quite exact, this end of the jack encounters a button. It pops the top of the jack out from underneath the underhammer, and that creates room for the hammer to come down and back check thus. There we go. And the repetition is encouraged by the butterfly spring. It wants to spread these parts. It wants to push on the back of the jack so that it goes back under, and it wants to push on the underside of the lever so that it goes up and makes room for the jack to again go back under. And in that little moment of weightlessness, when you release the key, before the hammer has a time to start accelerating downward, the spring pushes these little bits apart and lets the hammer get back, or the jack get back into position for repetition. Show it to you a little bit slower. Back check, and you let it out. And it's a pretty smooth, pretty clever little action. Also visible are the limiters. This right here is a plate, with a felt on the front of it. It limits how far back the jack can come so that these parts don't disengage. Also visible back here is the key up-stop rail. As you can see, it keeps the back of the key from bouncing around. They make for very precise and unforgiving regulation specs, but they also make for a nice, firm, positive feel without a lot of clicks and clacks. It was a very quiet action for its day. In another video, I suppose I'm going to see what I'm going to need to replace, but this is your, what I'm calling an early period Edwin Brown action. So I hope this answers a few questions about what they are and how they work. And when this one's restored, we'll take another look at it, and trust me, we're going to hear this piano.